Greetings and salutations, my comrades and amigos. Pokemon Master Skywalker here with another video. I am once again joined by Jex Alex.
Hello, now in this video we'll actually be going over how you can use all the cards effectively. This will be the first episode in a series.
Yep.
And
we're going to go in them arena by arena. We forgot to mention at the beginning that this is Clash Royale.
yeah.
This is a Clash Royale video. Hello.
Anyway,
Just deciding to go backwards for some reason.
lovely.
Okay.
Anyway, so the first episode we'll be going over everything in training camp.
So this will probably be the longest one since this arena has the most cards in it, being 12, 4 commons, 4 rares, and 4 epics. We'll start with arrows.
So Arrows is a very popular card throughout the whole game.
Yeah.
And this is probably because it can take out many other popularly used cards,
Such as Minion Horde.
such as the Minion Horde. And then there's some which are not so popular, such as the Skeleton Army.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
Arrows is especially effective for taking out large hordes of enemies. And, that's not just things like Minion Horde, even though that's like one card. But, say they're placing goblins, spear goblins, skeletons, whatever it might be. And so you've got quite a few of a variety of cards coming at you. You can still use the arrows to take it out, which is very good elixir profit.
yeah, and in a pinch it can also be, used to take out very late game cards, even though arrows tend to be overtaken by other cards such as poison and zap by then.
Yeah, but at least early game it's fairly useful.
Yeah, but the zap lacks the ability to kill the princess.
Yeah.
Anyway, so moving on to the Bomber, which is, in my opinion, the best card in the game. And that is because of his high attack, as this one's only level 1, it's it's quite hard to see its actual strength. And
But it is very useful.
yeah, it's very, very good against cards that spawn groups of 3, such as the goblins, spear goblins, skeletons, and in a pinch, maybe the guards.
Yep, it can also be used effectively against barbarians,
Yeah,
since they spawn 4 and it can just sort of take them out in a cluster.
yeah. It does not usually survive without a hit, though.
Yeah.
Also, the Bomber can be used against Crown Tower at level 9, which is tournament standard. It does roughly 270 damage.
Which is very effective, so it makes for a nice addition to a push.
Yeah.
And especially good since it's only 3 elixir, so it's very cheap.
Anyway, so
Next we have archers.
yep, archers don't really tend to be a popular card throughout the game. I know you use them.
Yeah, I use them. It's not as good as spear goblins, but in a pinch, it can be used to defend from air attacks, especially things like Lava Hound or Balloon. I feel like in these early stages, it's actually not that useful, even though it's one of the first cards you're likely to get. It doesn't have a whole lot of uses, but it's a nice addition. You can use it as part of a secondary push for very cheap elixir cost, and it can just sometimes be useful for rounding out a deck.
Yeah, they also do have quite a large amount of health, which means they can survive arrows of the same level, and they can beat both goblins and minions of the same level in just 2 hits. Anyway,
Yep.
so just a few more things to say about the archers.
Yes.
They are very good in middle arenas, such as Arena 4, 5, and 6. But once you reach Arena 7, they do tend to be beaten and outclassed by the princess.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Unless, of course, you don't actually have the princess because it's a legendary.
yes. Moving on to the knight, which
The 4th of all of these
yes.
commons, which I just realised they all cost 3 elixir, which is quite interesting.
Oh yeah, they do. And the knight is a very strangely unpopular card. It's very cheap and has very high HP for what it is, and maybe has one of the highest hit speeds for a unit in the game.
It's actually fairly good, but not many people use it, because I think it sort of gets outclassed by something like, say, the Giant or the Prince.
Yeah, it is easily distracted and can be taken out easily. But in a pinch, it can be used on both offense and defense.
It can make a nice secondary attack as well, because it's fairly cheap.
Yeah, and paired with the Spear Goblins or the 1 Elixir Skeletons, it can be an extremely cheap and lethal push.
Yes.
Anyway, moving on to the Fireball. So, the Fireball is an extremely popular card throughout almost the whole game. This excludes when the minion horde is first unlocked, which is when arrows are the much better option. But Fireball does do a lot of damage to both units and the Crown Tower, making them very effective, and can take out a whole Barbarians card. So
yeah, it's sometimes very good for like just finishing off those last little bits of damage you may or may not need to do to a Crown Tower.
Yeah.
Thank you, people in the park, for being so noisy.
Yeah, we do apologise for all the background noise, but we are in a public area.
Yep.
Anyway, moving on to what is the Mini Pecker.
The Mini Pecker. Now, something interesting, which Jexelix was actually telling me earlier today, it's not that good as a tank.
Yeah, it really isn't. So it's much better paired with something that is much higher health, then you can do a massive amount of damage. And the reason it isn't as good a tank is that it gets taken out in roughly 12 hits, and that's only enough time for it to get 1 or 2 hits off, if not distracted.
Yeah. I know one popular offense I've seen is like Pecker and Mini Pecker.
Yeah, I used to use that kind of combo. It doesn't tend to work.
It depends what you're going against. Sometimes it can be good, sometimes not so much. I never actually used it personally because I saw the weakness in it, but I do know there are people who like to use that. And, you know, it does a lot of damage because it does 325 damage per hit, and then if you combine that with the Pecker, it does heaps of damage, but it's difficult because it's like it gets distracted very easily.
Yeah, fun fact, the Mini Pecker actually used to be epic.
Really?
Yeah, it swapped its spot with the Prince, which was rare. Anyway, so moving on.
I did not know that.
It's in the screenshots for the game.
Fascinating.
Okay. The Musketeer is extremely popular throughout the whole game, and that is probably because of very highly used decks, such as the Trifecta, which does feature the Musketeer in it. I don't find it very good personally, but it's always a matter of opinion when it comes to this.
For me, I feel like for what it does, it's sort of outclassed by things like archers or spear goblins.
And the wizard.
Yeah, because like, you know, archers you get 2, so like say you've got a minions or a minion horde coming at you, you can take out 2 at once, whereas Musketeer only fires 1. So sure, it does more damage, so it's more likely to take out those things quicker, but it's also more likely to get taken out itself during that time.
Yes.
And,
Anyway,
you know,
so
for 4, it's not that good. 4 elixir.
Yeah, anyway, so next up we have the Giant.
One of the most popular cards and central to most decks which people use. The Giant is very good for tanking with its hefty 2000 hit points at level 1, which only grows as it gets leveled up.
Yeah, having a hit speed of only 1.5 seconds and being able to do almost 250 damage once at tournament standard is very overpowered.
Yes.
Yeah, and it almost has 3,000 health, maybe more than, I'm not really sure, I'm going from memory here.
I think it's more than, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, and it once paired with other cards such as Bomber, Witch, Wizard, or
you know, you mentioned those all splash cards, splash damage, which is very useful for taking out hordes, which are typically good for countering Giant, because I know one of my favourite counters for Giant back in the good old days was Skeleton Army, But as soon as I got the witch, it's like no more problem there.
Yeah, but yeah, in turn, the witch is also very effective when paired with the giant, as it can actually help very much with the skeleton army's weakness against the Inferno Tower. Anyway, moving on to the Prince, which is very surprisingly unpopular, except in Royal Arena, where Dark Prince decks are very popular.
Yeah. Early on, this was actually my first epic, and I really liked using it. Looking back, it's not that good, but it has its uses.
Yeah.
5 elixir is, for what it is, it can seem to be a bit much, but I know one of my favourite combos in my tertiary account, so that's my third account for those of you who don't understand the word tertiary.
Such as me.
It's a good part of my deck, so I would use Giant Witch on one side, and then while they're distracted from that push, I would place the Prince on the other side, and it usually has enough damage to take out an entire level 4 tower while only at level 1.
Yeah.
So it's very useful in that regard. But as its own individual push, it's not so good because it gets distracted very easily.
Yeah, and if the King Tower has not actually been hit yet, once it takes out a tower, even if it's on 1 HP, which is highly unlikely, it is actually able to get the charging shot before it dies.
Interesting.
Anyway, so now the Baby Dragon, which is very, very popular for those who have it in the first couple of arenas. But
after that, not so much.
It is a very cheap tank, and it is very effective in dealing with cards such as the Skeleton Army, Barbarians, Spear Goblins, and regular Goblins. But the use of those cards also drops off when the use of the Baby Dragon does, so it's not too great.
Yep. Later on, like once you're Arena 5 and you can get the Wizard, it's just sort of gets outclassed by the Wizard, because the one thing Baby Dragon has going for it is air splash damage, which not very many other cards have, other than the Witch, which costs an extra elixir, or...
And the Bomber, which... The Bomber is similar to the Baby Dragon in some regards.
But it doesn't hit air.
Yeah, the trade-off being it has less health and can't hit air, but it is only 3 elixir compared to the Baby Dragon's 4, and does a lot more damage.
The Baby Dragon does have its uses, especially in early arenas, but, once you're in Arena 4, even 5, just sort of drops out of use.
Anyway, so...
Skeleton Army, which we've been discussing a lot, actually.
Yes.
Okay. So, the Skeleton Army, it summons 21 skeletons, which is incredible value considering the standard skeletons costs 1 elixir and you only get 3. So, you're essentially getting 7 elixir value for 4. Very good at countering things like Prince, or if it's like a Soul Giant, it's good for that as well.
Yeah, however, it is easily defeated by Arrows and the Witch, which are both very, very popularly used cards. And most decks don't go without something that uses splash damage, so it is easily defeated in that regard.
Or even just something like, say you had Spear Goblins or something like that, and combining it with a Crown Tower, you're taking out approximately 4 per second. Or at least 4 per volley of shots. So it does fall very quickly to something like Spear Goblins or even Archers.
Yeah.
And another thing, once it's in later arenas, because it's an epic and the level of the skeletons themselves holds with the level of the card, once you're in later arenas, it's really difficult to use effectively because you're working with level 2 skeletons when your common skeletons are around level 7, 8, even 9.
Yeah, for example, in a tournament standard battle, your skeleton army would be spawning level 4 skeletons, but your regular skeletons or your witch would be spawning level 9. Or your tombstone if you are a weird person who uses tombstone.
We're not going to cover that in this episode, though.
Okay, and finally we are up to the witch, which...
Witch?
No pun intended. The witch is very overpowered, especially in Arena 1, as it spawns level 6 skeletons, as it is only at while it's only at level 1, and that does get better as the witch progresses. Anyway, this is to align with the tournament standards, so that it's spawning level 9 skeletons when it's level 4.
Yeah.
So
I feel like Witch is one of those cards which can actually be used effectively and with the exact same strategy all throughout the game, with minor changes here or there based on what other cards are in the arena and what things you're encountering. But Witch is especially good in Arena 1 if coupled with the Giant.
yeah. So the witch can both be used defensively and offensively, as a witch on its own can take out a mini Pecker and survive unscathed. So
Because of the skeletons it spawns, also good at countering Prince, or if you're placing it behind one of your towers, it can be used for countering barbarians as well.
yes. Anyway, so let's just wrap this up a bit.
Yep.
So I think we should do a top 3 cards to use in each arena.
I would say Witch, Giant,
And Bomber.
Bomber.
Yeah.
Okay.
And honourable mentions would include Arrows and Fireball.
Yep.
And maybe Musketeer. Anyway, we're going a bit overboard.
Overtime, you mean?
Overtime. No, overboard with the amount of cards we're choosing for.
Okay.
Anyway, so
Okay.
thank you all for watching, and I'll leave the rest
Yep.
of the outro up to Skywalker.
As always, if you enjoy this video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe.